Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Zakir Naik. I would like to know the ruling on masturbation. I traveled and left my family behind for greener pasture for about 1.5 years now. I miss my wife very much. When I call her online for video chat, we sometimes end up with masturbation. I do this and later I regret. I do tawbah, but after some days I do it again. I can't find the solution to this problem. I am unhappy with masturbation and what I do. As far as the act of masturbation is concerned, the scholars in Islam, there are different opinions. But the majority of the scholars, they say that masturbation in Islam is haram. Even though majority of the scholars say haram, there's a large number which also say that it is makruh. And there's another large number of scholars who say that it is mubah, it's optional. So I would like to say at the outset that majority of the scholars, in terms of percentage, majority, they say that it is haram. But a large number, there may not be majority, but the number is huge. A large number of scholars, they also say it is makruh, it is discouraged. And another large number, though not a majority, they also say that it is mubah. And we'll discuss this issue today, and I'll let you know that which group of scholars do I agree with towards the end. As far as the jurist, the fuqaha, amongst the Shafi'i and the Maliki, almost all of them, they say that masturbation is haram. And according to Imam Ash-Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him, he says it is haram, and he quotes the verse of the Quran from Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 5, 6 and 7. If you read Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 1 onward, it says that believers will eventually be successful. Verse number 2 says, those who humble themselves in prayers. Verse number 3 says, those who avoid vain talks. Verse number 4 says that those who do acts and deeds of charity. Verse number 5 says, those who guard their private parts, or those who abstain from sex. Verse number 6 says, except those who they have married, that is their spouses, that is their wives, and those which their right hand possesses. For them, there is an exception. And verse number 7 says that all those who cross these limits, they are transgressors. So here the Quran says in Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter number 23, verse number 5, 6 and 7, that the mu'mins are those who guard their private parts, abstain from illicit sex, except from their spouses and what their right hand possesses. That's an exception. And all those who cross these limits, they are transgressors. So based on this verse of the Quran, Imam Shafi'i, may Allah be pleased with him, he says that here the verse is very clear cut, that sex you can only have with your spouse and what your right hand possesses, and everything else is prohibited. Now, this verse of the glorious Quran can be interpreted in two ways. The first group of scholars, they understand this verse as here guarding your private parts. In Arabic, it means that all types of sexual pleasure. That means all types of sexual pleasures for a woman is only permitted with your wife and what your right hand possesses, that is the slave girl. And now the slave woman has been abolished. So now it is restricted to only your wives. So based on this verse, if all sexual pleasure is only permitted with your wife, then even masturbation is haram. But the other group of scholars say that this verse, guard your private parts, it's only restricted to sexual intercourse. So the verse of the Quran actually means that you can have sexual intercourse only with your wife and what your right hand possesses. Other than sexual intercourse, this verse doesn't refer to other things. So if you agree with the second group of scholars, then masturbation doesn't fall under this verse of the Quran. That is the reason the scholars are divided. But if you literally know the verse of the Quran, the meaning, it says guard your private parts. So, but naturally there is no explicit verse in the Quran which says that masturbation is prohibited. And what we realize from this verse, it means sexual intercourse. And there are various other verses which have prohibited sexual intercourse with people outside the marital bonds, or if they are not what your right hand possesses, if they are not your slave women. As Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 32, come not close to adultery, zina, or fornication, for it is an evil opening other routes to evil. So based on this verse of the Quran, the other group of scholars, they say that this verse specifically refers to sexual intercourse. That means sexual intercourse is only permitted with your wife and with what your right hand possesses. Otherwise, it doesn't mean other things. So if you agree the meaning of this verse is only restricted to sexual intercourse, then masturbation is not included in this verse. So that is the reason scholars differ. And according to Ibn Hazm, he says that our beloved Prophet has permitted a person to touch his private part. And the hadith, it says touch with your left hand, no problem. It is your organ, you can touch. He also says that it is your fluid, you can emit it if you want. So based on that, he says when the Prophet has permitted to touch your private organ, and that is what you do in masturbation, it is self-stimulation, so surely it is permitted. And masturbation is of two types. One is self-stimulation. The other type of masturbation is your spouse or your sexual partner is stimulating you. And no scholar ever says that your wife or your spouse is not permitted to touch your private part. So based on this, surely the other type of masturbation where your spouse touches is permitted. So when you can enjoy with your spouse touching your private part, then why can't you do it yourself? So based on this, the second group of scholars, which is lesser in number, they say that this verse does not include masturbation at all. It is just talking about sexual intercourse. So sexual intercourse is only permitted with your wife, with your spouse, and with what your right hand possesses. It doesn't include masturbation. So that's how the scholars differ.
Part of al-istiqamah is to be observant and aware of Allah watching you. Ya akhi, when you sit, whether in day or night, and you watch pornography, or shaitan comes and says, astaghfirullah, pornography haram. Nude picture is okay. And sometimes if you're strong in iman, astaghfirullah, nude pictures is haram. Model pictures is okay. It's haram. Small clips, funny reels. This is how shaitan starts, step by step. Watch a movie clip. Innocent, nothing haram. A little bit further, maybe some nudity. A little bit further, a lot of nudity. A little bit further, pornography. A little bit further, you're addicted. If you knew that Allah is all hearing, all seeing, Allah is watching with you, would you watch? But you are sealed. Your heart is sealed, is covered. You don't ever remember that Allah is watching me. Allah is hearing what I'm hearing. So this means that you have to go back to stage and to square one, where you study the beautiful names of Allah, to know that Allah is As-Sami', Al-Basir, Al-Raqib, Al-Hasib, Al-Muqit. All of these tell you that Allah is watching you, Allah is holding you to account. This would help you. Whether you do it in the day or in the night, it doesn't make a difference. Now, how to stop it? Get rid of your your smartphone. This is one of the means that take you to hell. iPad, laptops, computers, get rid of them. Sheikh, I have to do work, I have to do school. No problem. Use a PC with a big screen and put the screen in the living room, not facing the wall, facing everybody else. So when you sit to work, the screen is facing everybody, everybody can see. Oh, Sheikh, but maybe something will come and maybe I will see something that is inappropriate. That's good. Now you will stop. But when you keep hiding, you put secret codes and pin codes and protection and hide everything. Why? Because people will find it and see it, but Allah knows about it. It's okay, Allah knows about it, it's okay. But I don't want my father and my mother to know. I don't want my imam of the masjid to know. Then you have a serious problem in your aqidah, in your iman, and this is why you're not on the straight path of al-istiqamah. Masturbating is makruh, which means not recommended. You know that we have 5 rulings: mandatory, then recommended, then permissible, then makruh, then haram. So makruh is a degree above haram, above prohibition. But if you do it, you're not sinful. If you leave it, then you are rewarded. So he says that I heard a da'i saying so. So what's the ruling on masturbation? Akhi, masturbation is prohibited. And why do we say it's prohibited? Because our scholars, like Sheikh bin Baz, like Sheikh bin Uthaymeen, and many other contemporary scholars, great scholars of Islam, say it is prohibited. Imam Shafi'i, before them, decades ago, centuries ago, also said that it is haram. Because Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Mu'minun and in Surah Al-Ma'arij, والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على ما ملكت أيمانهم إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون. So Allah says that those who protect their private parts from any illicit, prohibited sexual intercourse, unless it's with their wives and what their right hand possesses. And whoever chooses to fulfill his desire in other means, then they are the transgressors. And this brings us to Shamshad's from India's question. So we hit 2 birds with 1 stone. What kind of transgression is this? Whenever you do something that Allah has prohibited, this is a form of transgression against Allah. So this ayah, Imam Shafi'i says, is a clear cut that satisfying your sexual desires other than what Allah has permitted you to do is a form of transgression. In another hadith, and the Prophet ﷺ was addressing the youth, and he said to them, "O youth, whoever is financially capable and physically capable of getting married, then he should get married, because this helps him to lower his gaze and protect his chastity." So this is the natural channel. Okay, Prophet of Allah, I can't afford to get married. What should I do? I'm still suffering. I cannot lower my gaze and I cannot preserve my chastity, meaning that I can't get married. What to do? Did the Prophet ﷺ say, go and masturbate? Because this is degree number 2, level 2? Never. He told them, whoever is unable to afford it, then he should fast. This would be to him a blockage of his sexual desire. So now you compare apple to apple. The scholar said it's haram. Imam Shafi'i said it's haram. The Prophet directed us ﷺ to fast, and never ever he agreed or permitted the companions to masturbate.